All right. Where should you look for information about HTML and CSS and web development? You probably have already, if you started to ask yourself this question, you know that the internet and a random Google search is going to inundate you with a ton of crap. And I mean crap. There's a bunch of really horrible documentation out there. And I'm going to tell you, RTFM, my friends, RTFM, read the fancy manual. And what do I mean by a fancy manual? The best place to learn web development is from the web specification. And this is a lot of people try to uh, make up different ways of doing this, and they end up failing. And I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So, unfortunately, W3 schools, it's funny because there used to be this. Okay, so W3 schools is not a bad thing, right? It does organize a bunch of the code, but you need to understand that this is. Let me just tell you about this. W3 Fools, W3 Fools was once, they have certs now. W3 school is this. This is actually this. Every time I see W3, which is they've completely owned the SEO to have it pop up. But it's important that you understand that this resource has historically sucked bad. It has been a really horrible place to go. It had a lot of people from the community who took it, who made W3 fools because they were so put off by how hard it was. They had to actually change this and say they have largely resolved these issues. Largely resolved does not mean completely resolved. So again, if you are being sent here, and by the way, I regularly go here to look up a little thing that I can't figure out, but that's really not the official source. And it does kind of annoy me that the searches don't even find the official source. So the W3 working group, we won't get into the history of the working group, the W3 working group. Working groups are the heart of the W3C. W3C historically has been the place to go they actually literally created the specification. Unfortunately, there was also, they didn't keep up. I mean, it's hard for you to know about this. There's W3C, and then there's another thing called the W3 Working Group, which was created primarily from people from Google. W3. Why isn't it? You know what? I think it's because the working group finally resolved their drama and said no, go to W3C for everything. I think they finally went ahead. A lot of people have been recommending Mozilla. Okay, so here it is, the HTML working group. I'm trying to think. W3C working group, HTML working group. I'm trying to find it. It's actually hard. Okay, let's see. Chartered until blah. I mean, I'm kind of interested. Where is it? How come it's still so hard to find? Yeah, HTML has had problems in the past. So, okay, let's actually just go look at this history of web specifications. Okay, including HTML. So the W3C was the original one, and then they stopped updating stuff, and everybody was like, why can't they do anything? They become completely unusable. And so the other group came up and they said, we're going to do it instead. And this is not accurate at all. But they came up with HTML5. So HTML5, and I'm actually kind of glad we're having trouble here because it's so hard to get the actual documentation. There it is. WHATWG. That's the one I was looking for. It's WHATWG. Okay, so before I gotta tell you about this because you're gonna get confused. You're like, what the hell is the WHATWG? Okay, so the WHATWG. In fact, let's go there. Let's go to the WHATWG. and let's see what they have to say about what they are. All right, so okay, it maintained and evolved HTML since 2004. So the short answer to this drama and the history is very simple. The original organization that created the absolutely horrible XHTML standard, which is pre HTML5, was the W3C, and there were so many problems with it. And I'm going to get negative comments. There's no way around it. And I mean, it was bad. They tried to push a bunch of really bad ideas, and the whole world, pretty much all the developers were like, no, this is absolutely horrible. It's almost like they don't actually use the specification of the technology that they're creating, which is largely true. The specification body became disconnected from the developers who are actually using it. And by developers, I mean the largest representation of developers, which included the Googles and the Mozillas and the Microsofts and all of those people. They were the ones doing it all, and so that became the these people that were making the web browsers, and that were having to deal with this HTML. It was kind of a disconnect, because W3C. I promise you, this is relevant to where you should go learn, right? Because you need to know the history. You need to know the history of why this is the most definitive source for learning and how it came to be that way. So the W3C, which was making all they were specifying everything, but they weren't involved with making any of the web browsers at all. And so the web browser manufacturers were over here, the working group, the WHATWG working group. They're like, well, we want the blink tag, and we want this and this and this and this, right? And the Mozilla network, you got all of it, right? And so they're like, screw you, W3C. We're going to do our own thing. And they released the HTML5 specification. And that became the living standard since 2004. And they basically took over from the W3C without even asking. They said, look, we make every major browser on the planet, and we are going to tell you what our browsers can do. And then you're going to decide whether you want to get in line or not. And fast forward to like, let's actually look at, here we go. The hypertext web is a community of people interested in evolving the web through standards and tests. We're funded by individuals from Apple, Mozilla, opens Opera software in 2004. After the W3C workshop, Apple, Mozilla, and Opera were becoming increasingly concerned about the direction of XHTML, lack of interest in HTML because it sucked. So in response, these organizations set about with a mission to make it better. In 2000, so this is important. In 2017, Apple, Google, Microsoft, and Mozilla helped develop an IPR policy and governance structure of WHATWG. And as far as God, it sounds like they took it back. Okay, so last time I read this, there was a thing that said, by the way, we're singing Kumbaya with W3C again, and W3C is in charge again. But it seems like there's no, I don't see. I think they might have changed their mind again. I think they might have said, nope, W3C doesn't know what they're doing. It takes them forever to get anything done. We're just going to keep it. There used to be a fact here that said that they would do it. You know what? Let's ask ChatGPT what ChatGPT has to say. What is the relationship between W3C and what WG? Believe it or not, this is going to answer the question about where you should learn HTML, because you can't answer the question. Seriously, people, you can't answer the question about where you should learn HTML until you know who's in charge of defining the standard. Right? W3C, the World Wide Web Consortium, and WHATWG, Web Hypertext Application Technology Working Group, are two entities that develop standards for the web. W3C's original Tim Berners-Lee, inventor of the web. WHATWG started as a rebellion among browser developers against the W3C due to his frustration over slow progress. I already said that. The rebellion resulted in the creation of HTML5, which is wildly accepted as really awesome. HTML5 is an amazing standard. For many years, WHATWG worked separately contained, each with its own version. But in 2019, there it is, they announced an agreement to work together to create a single version of HTML known as the, quote, living standard, maintained by WHATWG, but officially endorsed by W3C. This development marked an important unification of how the web standards developed. In other words, W3C said, yeah, we're good. You do it. Yeah, you're good. Rubber stamp. Rubber stamp. Rubber stamp. Because they had no power. They lost all the power. Every single browser manufacturer had decided to join WHATWG, and so W3C is like, huh. So they joined it. That's exactly what happened. Anyway, so this is where the standard is. So read it for yourselves, my friends. Read the HTML living standard. This, by the way, includes CSS. Even though I don't think CSS is written here. Let's go see if we can find it. Okay, but anyway, CSS is actually a part of the standard. I wonder if it's listed under the different standard. Compatibility, console, DOM, the document object model is something you'll need to know eventually. HTML, infra, MIME sniffing, what? I don't know about these other ones. URL, what is the URL? What is the URL standards? WebSockets, which is super cool. If you're going to do any kind of web games, you need to know it. Don't use the Mozilla docs. Everybody says to use Mozilla docs, and they're dramatically out of date and wrong. I know this firsthand. I've used the Mozilla docs many times. I've actually submitted corrections which remain uncommitted. I'm telling you, people, read the manual. And most people will say, but the manual is too hard to read. It's actually not. Look right here. Read the HTML living standards. Let me test you on this. How many people think that the bold tag and the italic tag, B and I, are actually no longer part of the standard? I guarantee you at least one person listening to this will be like, B and I you're not supposed to use them because they're documented incorrectly in different places. And so again, go to the standard. And I'm going to say it again. In all cases, go to the standard. Get used to reading the standard docs. Get used to reading RFCs. Get used to finding out what the standard is and going there. Every time you read somebody's interpretation, no matter how well intended, no matter how well funded, whether it's W3 Schools, or it's Mozilla, or it's Microsoft, you're always getting somebody else's interpretation of the specification when instead you could have learned it correctly by reading the specification, no matter how much extra work it takes to do that. That goes for everything. It goes for the bash man page. If you're going to learn how to do bash shell scripting, best to learn it from the man page, which was written by the bash people, not somebody's third-party book that you had to pay money for that's not even correct anymore. Okay, so I mean, this is a little bit of a rant, but it's annoying because people are constantly recommending their favorite replacement for the actual standard. Okay, and I'm telling you right now, you've never heard of WHATWG because you didn't seek out the standard, right? The actual standards body that's responsible for defining the standards for the entire World Wide Web that is contributed to by every major browser manufacturer should be considered the company, the authority to refer to. And if you don't know about it, I'm sorry, but this is the standard. And now you know. Now you know. If I'm sounding a little bit, passion or like triggered or something, it's because I'm so annoyed that professionals don't know about the professional specification for HTML, even though they're being paid to know how to code in HTML and do web development. About 50% of the web developers out there have never even heard what WG is. They could never even tell you where to find the specification, and yet these people are writing applications every day for banks and for Netscape, Netflix, and for all these other organizations. So yeah, you're going to see me rant about this. Read the manual. Read the manual. Know where the manual is. Know who wrote the manual, and find who has the manual. There, I'm done. All right, so this is the manual. And it doesn't work in half the browsers, and it doesn't matter to you. Yeah, well, in this case, that's not the case. This case, 10x programmer, this actually is the standard, and the standard was created by the people who made the browser. So pay attention. Make sure you learn it. Don't get left in the dust. That's all for this video.